Well, it's June Pride Month, and we celebrate the riots that took place at Stonewall in June 1969 as the beginning of the modern LGBTQ+ civil rights movement. It's 2023, and this year, June Pride Month, is a protest. Welcome to Unapologetically Queer. I'm your host, Al Ferguson, and I am proud to talk to some of the most interesting people that are interesting to our LGBTQ+ community. At Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, our mission is based on the 10 pillars of the LGBTQ+ community, including the Black community, Latino, lesbian and queer women, trans, students and youth, seniors, business, social justice, and faith. Well, as I said, we all know it's June Pride Month, but this year some are asking, why do you need an entire month for Pride? And why do you need a Pride parade? So let's find out. History Fort Lauderdale has a month-long retrospective going on now called Take Pride, a retrospective of LGBTQ+ life in South Florida. One such influential personality is here with us today, Sebrina Alfonso. Take Pride is also honoring her this month for the trailblazing work she has been doing for decades. History Fort Lauderdale calls her a pioneer. I'm getting ready to ask her if she likes that word. Born and raised in Key West, Sebrina Alfonso developed a passion for music at a very young age. With a master's degree in music from Virginia Commonwealth University and doctoral studies with an emphasis on conducting from the Peabody Institute at Johns Hopkins University, quite prestigious. Of course, you know her as the music director and conductor of the very renowned South Florida Symphony Orchestra. In 2002, Sebrina became the first Cuban American conductor invited to conduct Cuba's premier orchestra, the National Orchestra of Cuba. Alfonso received accolades for her appearances as a guest conductor with esteemed orchestras like Los Angeles Philharmonic, San Jose Symphony, the Orchestra in Siena, Italy, and the Women's Philharmonic. She even conducted an underwater concert with over 400 divers, which received worldwide recognition. We're clearly happy and excited to have you here on Unapologetically Queer. And let me begin. Sebrina Alfonso, I understand you are unapologetically queer.
I am.
For a long time.
For a long time, actually. I think since I was 5 years old and had a big crush on a little girl in my class.
Oh, okay.
Who liked my brother.
Oh, okay. Who did one person win out? In friendship?
Well, we remained friends. Probably neither one of us. You know, it was just such an infatuation that I had with her, but I came out by 10th grade.
Yeah.
Just finally sitting. I was actually playing. I played on a softball summer team, and we were sitting having pizza after a game, and some young woman walked by, and I was in 10th grade, and some woman woman, I don't remember, walked by, and I just kind of sort of went, oh, you're gay. And I knew right then and there. That was it. That was it for me. I didn't question it.
It's interesting to me, you're the music director of the South Florida Symphony Orchestra. The headquarters office is right on the Wilton Drive. You're in literally ground zero of what we've always called at Queer News Tonight the gayest place on planet Earth. and you're kind of in rarefied company, not only the music director, but conductor. And I asked you before we sat down and talked, are there many women directors conducting major symphonies? And are there many lesbian, queer women conducting symphonies? Are there?
There are many more women now, and it's sort of like when I was coming, they would make a woman an assistant conductor. You know, they went after that, or women of color or men of color.
So there was a glass ceiling.
There was a very big glass ceiling. And now the thing that seems like what's trending is to hire women for major orchestras. And it's been very successful. The women women have to work a little harder, no offense, a little harder than men to be recognized. So they're hiring just stellar conductors.
Yeah.
And there are several that are in the majors that are lesbian and are, and of course men, there are quite a few gay men that are conducting in the majors.
Well, that's an accomplishment. I'm glad to hear that.
Is, yeah.
Now, and that accomplishment contributes to the part of what is going on by History Fort Lauderdale. They've created this major exhibition about the history of LGBT South Florida. It comes from a very academic, museum standard approach. You get the phone call, wait, we've decided that you're one of the pioneers, that we're going to present at Take Pride. And what was your reaction when you get that phone call?
Honestly, that I'm not a pioneer. I always look at things like that in such a grander scale, you know, and so I was honored, but I felt not worthy of this. And then I realized, you know, that like politics, I was always involved on the federal level. Got people voted on who I got in office who I voted for, but then nothing could be done because the local politics was still not agreeing with what I wanted to see our country be. And realizing that on a smaller scale, you know, you are a pioneer. You do try to bring, even through music, we always through our outreach programs try to bring perseverance, human rights, equality for everyone, and I think that I could see myself as a pioneer on that level, but it took me a minute to just think that, okay, I'm one of those.
Now, Sebrina, I'm a gay man, so every gay man talks about age in one way or another. When you're identified, you get this phone call and you're said, you're going to be one of our pioneers that we represent. Any ageism kinds of things come up, or you don't even think about that?
I really don't think about that, but I guess that...
You're clearly not a gay man.
No.
Clearly.
No, I just, you know, the thing is that when you're a conductor, as you age, you actually become better because, you know, life experience and how you approach your music.
I love that.
It's an advantage actually that maybe you don't see in other.
Oh, how fabulous! So you're in an industry and a career where longevity actually improves the product.
Correct.
Is what I heard. Interesting. Well, as to make sure I would have a major faux pas in having Sebrina with us today if I didn't talk about the other half. Of course, she has a strong commitment to diversity, and that's apparent. You'll see that in all aspects of Sebrina's career, but she is not alone in this journey. It's kind of like a tag team. Sebrina is accompanied by an equally strong, dedicated, and talented partner, and her spouse is Jacqueline Lorber. And of course, you have seen her in many different ways with the SFSO as the president and the CEO. The couple recently were celebrated, and I participated in that event at the Harvey Milk Foundation and the Pride Center of Equality Parks Diversity Honors Awards that were held at the Hard Rock. The award was presented to the duo by Harvey Milk Foundation founder and president Stuart Milk himself and the Pride Center of Equality's board chairman Christopher Bates. You got the announcement that the Diversity Honors recognition is really both of you. That must have been an exciting moment that the community is recognizing, wait, there's LGBT pioneers as a partnership.
Jacqueline, my wife, you know, she's such a compelling person, and always when I'm asked to do these interviews, I always say, you know, you should go because she can speak so eloquently about what's going on. And she sort of taught me, because she was someone that had been married, you know, to a man, and when she finally felt free enough to come out and be with women and did that, she always makes me realize that how second class we can be treated, because people don't want to see us be affectionate in public, or they don't, you know, they know about it, but you don't talk about it. I mean, we all have been through that over our career and our lives. And as someone who was married to a man and was able to be open and expressive, the thing that she taught me was, wait, you're telling me that because I loved a man, it was okay, but now that I love a woman, I can't be who I was when I was with a man? And she's like, no, that's not acceptable.
Yeah, not acceptable.
And you'd be surprised how many of us who came up with being gay, because like I said, I was gay from 10th grade, and though I was open in my high school and I was never bothered, never, and you know, you still were quiet about it. You still, you know, even in my job, I had a job, I was at Goucher College, I was a conductor, and I taught. And the dean of the music department, he was gay, and he knew I was gay. And we knew each other was gay, but guess what? We didn't talk about it until he and I both left. Then we were open with each other, but we knew, but it just was never talked about.
I think it's interesting with the two of you, because I've been by, you know, you're in one of my favorite blocks in all of South Florida. Your offices for the symphony. What's interesting about it, which is pretty unique in our community in South Florida and maybe around the country, it's two very powerful women in an organization, a creative arts organization like South Florida Symphony Orchestra, her being the president and the CEO, you being the very powerful creative influence, being the conductor and the music director. Does one do better than the other? One's more important to the South Florida Symphony Orchestra, right? Which one's more important to the orchestra?
No,
you or
I'm not answering that. No, the reality is you know, the product, the orchestra, the level of the orchestra, the music, the product is the most important, because that gives both she and I the ability to do what we do at our best. If I have an orchestra that is, you know, the musicians are top notch, we together can create what the composer intended and bring to our audiences the experience, because you want them to walk out of there with a memorable experience, and you want to basically, you know, fulfill their souls, their hearts, the things that, you know, you don't just get in everyday life when you go into work. You know, when you come there, the idea is that your spirit and your soul is fulfilled, because we all need that. That's why music has been around since the beginning of time. I mean, we grow up, you know, babies sing, you know, when they're toddlers. So, so I would say, in some ways, I would say her job right now is more important, because Jacqueline is really working to take the orchestra to a level that we can achieve all of our goals, and I know I'm important in that, bringing the music and fulfilling those things, but I can't do that if we don't have the support from the community and the staff that we have.
The business, the marketing, the fundraising, the sponsorships,
and
etc.
we have.
You know what's interesting to me about that, Sebrina, is honestly, I think you're completely wrong. And the reason why two powerful women in partnership, both in life and in the business of the South Florida Symphony Orchestra, is for the business to be good, the orchestra has to be good. For the orchestra to be good, the business has to be good. So really, you're both contributing things that are absolutely vital that you can't live without either way. You can't get through a pandemic without good business savvy. But when you come back from the pandemic, you have to be good. That's what
I agree. And you know what, the reason I say this, that, you know, our marketing person is just phenomenal. And the reason I say that is because our product has always been really stellar, but we've never had this success. And what they've done is in what you're saying, is allowed us to get out, to be heard in the community, to be seen, to get people to know us so that they can experience our product. And our orchestra can be fabulous, and it is. I mean, but it doesn't matter how good we are if there's no one getting us out into the community, if there's no one making the community aware of what we're doing. And the most important thing that I think our staff does, which is sort of helped me also to do with the orchestra and has made them even more loving our organization, is that we really try to make our patrons a symphony family. They're included in everything. We want them to feel the warmth. You know, we basically tell them we love you and we love bringing this music to you. And you know, just really kindness and tolerance. You know, that is something that we really do.
You know, it's also interesting for viewers all over the country are going to watch Unapologetically Queer in this interview with you. And a lot of people don't realize how special South Florida is for the LGBTQ community. We have a South Florida Symphony Orchestra where the president and the CEO represents our community. Is the conductor, who is a woman, a queer woman, represents our community. I understand approximately 30% of the professional musicians represent our community, and that's unique. Dallas doesn't have that. Houston doesn't have that. Denver doesn't have. This is a very unique orchestra, a symphony orchestra, in that it represents the community, but at the same time it represents the entire community, both the broad, straight, broad community and our LGBT. Tell me about that. Why is the symphony here so unique compared to so many other places in America?
Well, for one thing, I think that our particular orchestra, we have a large gay following. And in fact, maybe because we were gay, Jacqueline and I, it was when I moved this symphony from Key West to Fort Lauderdale, it was easier, and we felt more welcome in the gay community, which made us really want to have our offices in Wilton Manors. When we have musicians travel from across the country to come play with us, which we do some, because it is, like I said, it's an audition, and we take the best players. We try to have mostly local, but we maintain a certain level. And if we don't have those players that are interested that are playing with us locally, then we do bring in, and we have a lot of people of color, gay, lesbian, people who audition for us because they know it's friendly. They know that we're very tolerant, that we have a large following. And so not only do we have a large gay following, but any straights or bisexual, whatever, they're all tolerant. They all come because they want to be in that world. When I lived in Key West, the following that the gays had in Key West were the straights that moved down there because they wanted to be in that kind of a tolerant atmosphere. They had a blast. They wanted to be in a place where everybody was welcome. And I feel like that's what we do. That is our most, non-musical, that is our most important mission, is that everyone feels welcome, that everyone is tolerant.
And to that point, with that perspective, Key West is not what is not today in the same degree as what you remember. Exactly. Is Wilton Manors, Fort Lauderdale, delivering that kind of moment that you felt in Key West? Are we getting close to that?
I think it's further along.
Do you?
I do. I think when we moved to Wilton Manors and I saw places like Rosie's and some of these other restaurants who are, have fabulous food, I would keep saying to Jacqueline, they really need to try to reach out to the straight community, because there are people who would come and be a part of this. It's great. It's fun. And I feel like that what we don't do, and I could be totally wrong. They may be, but I feel like what we don't do. You see all these cars drive by that are just going from one place to another, and that how many of them are folks that are straight. And I just think, how do we reach them to come be a part of this community? Mm-hmm. And I feel like Wilton Manors has that ability. Mm-hmm. And needs to, because it's quite gay, which of course I love. It's so easy to just go somewhere in Wilton Manors to go eat or hang out because you feel safe. Although I don't know about you, but lately I'm even a little
I want to talk about politics in a minute, but it's interesting that you say that, because it gives me the opportunity for a segue to talk about women, lesbians and queer women. Wilton Manors, Fort Lauderdale, in terms of the visibility that you see, is overwhelmingly gay men. It's overwhelmingly white gay men. We continue to talk about our diversity and trying to embrace, in terms of people of color, Black, Latino, lesbian and queer women, trans, etc. Where do you think we are in, not only here in South Florida, but just generally in Florida and America, on queer women? Are things improving? Are they getting worse? What do you think?
I think that it has to do with it's a financial issue. and I feel that it's dominated by actually older, mostly retired of gay men with money. And that's what you see in Wilton Manors, and you really see it because I'm there year round, so I see the season come and go, and I see it, slow down, which is why I'm always saying we need to reach out to everyone in this community to bring them to Wilton Manors. And because also if you come there and you see, the kindness and the fun, and that people are just people.
The pride.
Yeah. If you see all of that, then, you start to just realize that everything that's going on and being said about the gay community is just people's hate. And it's politics. They think the more they hate anything other than themselves, someone that looks like them or acts like them or thinks like them, that it's going to win elections. But I think that I don't think that women are. I don't think in the gay community necessarily that there's a problem. I feel that there are more and more women moving here that also are have money to be able to retire here. I think as far as Wilton Manors, I see women, we're just different than the gay men. When I was younger, I loved to dance, but there's really nowhere to dance. It's really not that kind of community here anymore. Anywhere, for straight or gay, dancing seems to have gone by the wayside. I think that if Wilton Manors could do more things that are open to the younger generation, which I think we need to have included, that maybe during the off seasons, you would see more of the local gay and lesbian community visit the area. I think it's just nothing there yet for the younger generation.
Okay. Well, as I said, Sebrina is being recognized all this month as one of the pioneers of LGBTQ South Florida. History Fort Lauderdale has done this amazing exhibit that is going on now all month long at the Galleria and on Sunrise, and quite an extensive celebration documenting the history of the queer community here. Patricia Zeiler, the executive director of History Fort Lauderdale, made some comments about the exhibit, which I thought was interesting. And here's what she said. She said, "History Fort Lauderdale is proud to showcase the valuable legacies of our LGBTQ businesses and influential leaders who have worked to make our great city an ideal place to live, work, and play. Education and tolerance are paramount as we continue to build upon these accomplishments, safeguard our progress, and move forward to ensure that Fort Lauderdale remains a welcoming place to live and visit for all during Pride Month and especially beyond," end quote. I love that quote because I've just recently done Floatorama, the boat parade, the flotilla, for Pride, and I rode on a boat where 400 LGBT and allies, anchored by Grand Marshal Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Congressman Schultz, and Dean Trentellis, the mayor of Fort Lauderdale, who is gay. And we're having this wild party on the Las Olas River, and simultaneously we're going right by the History Fort Lauderdale Museum on Las Olas, and they're doing this exhibit at the Galleria, which we're very near to, and we're honoring businesses, of which the South Florida Symphony Orchestra really at the end of the day is a business, and you're honored as a pioneer. What do you think about the exhibit? You went to the exhibit's grand opening and the first early on of June Pride Month. What did you think when you saw it?
Well, the wonderful part about it was, being honored among all these, I feel, great pioneers, but was to see the history. We were all paired up with someone in our field, so I was paired up with someone that was an artist, like 1920, who was part of this history. And I think that sort of brought a full circle about the fact that we've been doing this. We've been fighting for equal rights, fighting for gays and lesbians to be able to be free to love, free to have children. and you realize that it isn't just us, that there are people before us who got us to where we are, who helped to get us to where we are now, and that, you know, we have to continue, because I know that person had it much harder than I did, but because of her in the arts, she made it possible for me to be where I am. And maybe I didn't get to where I wanted to maybe get as a career, as in my career, not as a conductor, because I'm achieving the goals I want artistically. But I know that hopefully I have opened the doors, you know, that I was a part of opening those doors to these other orchestras by, you know, the fact that people are realizing women conductors are great for the orchestras and can bring, you know, wonderful artistry and interpretation to the music that we all love to hear.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you're kind of speechless when you walk in and you see yourself up there with these other people, and you're humbled, and you tell yourself, you know, you have to keep doing good, you have to keep moving forward, and you have to keep helping those that might not be able to speak up for themselves, and keep persevering.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what we actually teach and what we say to our orchestra and to the children that we give these education concerts.
I was in the Floatorama flotilla, and I was talking to Dean Trentellis, our mayor of Fort Lauderdale, and it does not matter that he's gay, but in the context of our conversation, our gay mayor of Fort Lauderdale, Dean Trentellis. And one of the things that I think is really interesting about the exhibit of the pioneers and the history of LGBT is we have a gay mayor of Fort Lauderdale, and in the 1970s, we had a mayor of Fort Lauderdale who famously said, "No gay people live in my city." And in just 5 decades, that's where we have moved from. That is tremendous progress for LGBT history in South Florida.
When I saw Dean about a week or two ago, and I whispered in his ear, "Are you running for governor?" He just looked at me like...
He is running for president, or for mayor. He's running for re-election of mayor. One of the things, Sebrina, I wanted to ask you about that really affects LGBT South Florida is our Hispanic culture, our Latino community. You're Cuban American, and I was fascinated by you going and conducting in Havana. I've been to Havana 13 times. I've brought huge numbers of people with me to Cuba. I am a student of, I'm a watcher of Cuba, and Mariela Castro, and cinesex, and LGBT rights in Cuba.
Congratulations.
You and we took Queer News Tonight to Havana Pride for the Pride March. Your experience being Cuban American, the tremendously large Cuban American community that we have here in South Florida, including LGBT. What was that experience like from your musical, creative experience, conductor? What was it like to go to Havana?
It was overwhelming. I mean, first of all, you know, you get paid a certain amount of money monthly whether you show up or not. So we had rehearsals. I was told to be there at a certain time. I would get there, and 45 minutes later I was still waiting for everyone to show up so we would have rehearsal. I brought a ton of music. We gathered from all over the country, from orchestras, music, instruments, reeds, things that we knew that they needed to use for performing and for practicing. It was very subpar. You know, they obviously didn't know the music of composers probably after the 1950s, and even then, and the music that they had was falling apart, and it was from Russia. So they hadn't gotten anything new since Russia pulled out of there. And they didn't have the discipline, they didn't have the teachers, and so I basically had to make a speech that, you know, that I was brought here to bring this music. I brought a ton of American, British, you know, a really nice, diverse set of music, and that to present to them and have them. And I brought a soloist, Zool Bailey, who has played with us several times, who was just such a superstar there. And that their disrespect for the music and the composer was worse than their disrespect for me. And that if they're not going to respect what it is we're trying to do, that I won't come. And it wasn't that they were so disrespectful. I mean, it was that they never were.
They didn't know any better.
Know any better.
Yeah.
And it was hard. It was hard to get them to really be able to sink into the music, because it was music that they didn't know. I mean, if I do music by Beethoven and say it's a piece I've never done, I'm still connected to Beethoven because I've done so many of his pieces. Any composer, even if it's a new composer, once you've done them, you connect to the soul of their music. And so when you go to study other things and play it, you have an idea who that person is. Well, they didn't even have that idea. But the worst part was I would, after rehearsals, every day as I would teach conducting students, and they would come and they would be with me from, I mean, we had rehearsals was supposed to be from 9 to 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and then I would have them till 9 o'clock at night. I would give them money to take the bus home, which I'm sure they all walked or did whatever and kept the money. And then when it was time for me to go, they all wanted me to help them to get out. And I was going like yearly. We were taking people and we were taking things. And I just said to them, if I helped someone get out, which I can do, but of course I had no guarantee that I could get them out. I said, if I help one person, you understand I will never be allowed back here. I mean, the first time I went, it was scary. I mean, the Secret Service, CNN, all these international news, they were sticking microphones in our mouths, in our faces, asking us, they're trying to make it very political. And, we tried to just say, Key West was 90 miles away from Cuba. I had family that were still in Cuba. We're here to make music with the Cuban orchestra, Cuban people, and bring our knowledge, what we have, and teach and be a part of their music world. And it took that whole time for them to just really realize that we were there. And for the government, I mean, it took, by the third time we went, it was very easy. The first 2 times that, you knew you were being followed, you knew they were very critical of what you were doing. You knew Castro was aware that you were there. And, but after a couple of times, they realized we weren't there for any reason but...
Is it something you would do again?
I would love to go with my orchestra, but yes, I would do it, and I would gather everything I need to gather to take to them, and hopefully can take people there. Yes, they definitely need.
Would the South Florida Symphony Orchestra, led by a queer president and a queer conductor and 30% queer, would they be embraced well in Havana?
I think so. It's funny because when they had the Pride Parade, wasn't it a really successful, open?
A very successful.
I mean, I with what's going on here in this country and in our state, I don't think I would feel as unsafe there as I do here right now.
Yeah.
So yes, I think that would be embraced, because we would go there and embrace them and bring what we have to them and make music.
Yeah. Well, Sebrina Alfonso, you must go and see this exhibit. It's at the Galleria. It is running all month long. You'll see so much of the history, so many photographs, video, costumes of the history of LGBT South Florida. And it's interesting to me, if we were sitting in Lincoln, Nebraska, this event and this exhibit would be mobbed by LGBT. We're sitting in a community that just doesn't even, I think, understand how special and incredible this LGBTQ community is. And one of the perfect examples is one of the pioneers that we're talking to today, Sebrina Alfonso. So thank you very much for being with us at Unapologetically Queer.
Thank you. It's a pleasure and an honor.